Question, Venters. Would you ditch Thanksgiving with your family if your family voted for the wrong orange man?
And Thanksgiving with your MAGA relatives, you can, in fact, opt out. Here's the lowdown. I live with my mother. We have a great relationship. We are both very anti-schmump. And I had asked, can you please not invite your brother this year and his wife to Thanksgiving? Every year, it's an issue. They show up, they don't contribute. My mom complains. It's a whole thing. But the key point here this year, though, is that they are gold star schmumpty dumpties. So I don't want to be around them. So I asked. But ultimately, my grandmother wants them there. It's her son. And my mom is going to listen to what her mother wants and respect that because she's in her 80s. And I'm like, fair. You're hosting. You're doing the work. You get to decide who you want to invite. I, however, can choose to just not be there. So this year, I was telling my besties in the chat that I was going to take my kids and I up and away to Universal Studios Hollywood because we have annual passes and it's open that day for us to go. Let's just go do our own fun thing. And then my bestie was like, hey, I actually need someone to adopt me and my 3-year-old son this year for Thanksgiving. Her husband is working. She is a nurse. She's normally working. And I was like, you know what? How about we do our own chaotic kids Thanksgiving at your place? I'll come over. We'll make some pizza. We'll make some dino nuggets. We'll have a time of it. We'll drink some wine. And she was like, I am so down.
So I don't have a problem with this. Number one, she's in her mom's life, and it sounds like she's in grandma's life too. She just doesn't care for her uncle. But if your political leanings mean that your uncle is no longer your uncle, there might be something with your political leanings.
On this special Thanksgiving, I'd like for everybody to take a moment and just reflect on things that we're thankful for. And I thank you first of all for our family and friends, but most important for Donald J. Trump, who's going to get this country back on track.
I thought that was kind of cute and funny. Okay, I can already tell this one's going to be a little nutso,
How is everybody going to do the holidays this year?
like
Right?
normal.
We're all meeting with our families around a table and we're supposed to like share a meal. And what is everyone going to talk about?
Sports.
Hey, how's it going? Oh, good. How are you? Good. What's new with you? Oh, nothing.
The food's good. Weather's nice.
Yeah, no, it's nice out today.
Does this look like Aunt Patty is having a good time, or is she going into a family outing already with the sourpuss face? And if Kamala would have won, would she have still had the same feeling, or would she have been okay with it? What's good for the goose should be good for the gander, right? If you're okay with going to holidays when your team wins, you should be okay with going to holidays when your team doesn't win. Your family is so much more important than your political leanings.
And then you're going to be like, get me the fuck out of here. I want to go home. Your family members don't like you. If they voted for this douche, they do not love you. But we all have to like break bread, sit around a table and talk about the things that we're thankful for and try to what? Try to pretend that this just didn't happen. I think I'm going to just skip out on the holidays this year.
So I want you guys to think about something. If this is your best friend or this is your neighbor, this is somebody that literally is not okay with you having a different opinion. If you are one of these folks that agrees with her that you can't be in the room with somebody that didn't vote for your person, then you're literally giving off vibes that nobody can be your friend unless they totally agree with you. Who wants to have a friend like that?
The reason I won't be invited back to my Friendsgiving this year, this is me assuming, but I'm pretty sure that's the reason. Because last year, right before we started eating, it's a Filipino household, delicious food. I had just slurped the first spoon of lobster soup. I had like a chunk of lobster in my mouth. It was so delicious. And then one of the middle-aged fathers next to me passed out into my soup. He just passed out. What do?
That can't
You
be
call
true,
an ambulance.
right?
Then you wait for the ambulance. And then you are with the ambulance for like an hour and nobody eats.
Oh no.
I starved myself all day. And while, of course, I was saying all the right things, oh no, no, oh my God, he's all right. He has absolutely nothing wrong with him, as the doctors in the ambulance just said. Food is getting cold. My face, I think, said it all because I was so hungry. I had reached that level of hungry where probably my face was saying, I don't care if he dies.
See, this is what I have a problem with. Americans as a whole, we used to not be so cold and cruel. And I can tell by her accent, she's not one of us.
Why does everybody pretend that Thanksgiving is a good holiday? It's not a good holiday. It
It's the
sucks.
best.
Nobody wants to go home and see their Republican family members.
See, it used to be you didn't want to go home to see the alcoholic uncle or the guy that always said the horrible comments, right? But now it's the Republicans. If you're a conservative Republican, I want you to know I still love you. And if you're a Democrat or liberal, I want you to know you're okay.
Nobody likes turkey. It's dry. It doesn't matter how much you baste it, it's dry.
Oh, I can already tell this one's got an attitude.
You know, some of y'all so busy trying to be polite that y'all gonna go spend Thanksgiving tomorrow with people you don't really care for. I don't care if they family or not. Let's just be for real. We all have some family members that we don't really care for like that. The reality of it is that some of these people, if you never saw them again, it'll be too soon. Let me tell you something. Don't do that. If you know you don't fool around with these people like that, you don't have to go spend Thanksgiving with them tomorrow. Thanksgiving is about love and it's about family, but it's not the blood that makes you family. Okay? So just because these people share your DNA, don't feel obligated to go sit around with them tomorrow and be the butt of their jokes. Have them crack jokes and laugh at you in your face. Because let me tell you something, there be some truth to them jokes. Pay attention.
There are some truth to those jokes. So when they do laugh in your face, at least for this person, I can totally see why.
So my parents didn't show up to Thanksgiving like they said they would. And at this big age, I did not think that something like that would hurt my feelings like it does. But I also wasn't really surprised. Like when I would tell people that my parents were going to be there, I would kind of have this, that's what they said. And I am now at a point where I am not willing to waste my time wishing for a relationship with them anymore. I've been complaining a lot about not having a lot of time or mental energy to grow friendships. I have all these lingering friendships, all these people that have been texting me, wishing me well, blessing me, and things like that. But I have not been able to have the mental energy to really nourish those friendships. And I've grown tired of that. I've grown tired of that excuse. And now I'm at the point where I feel like I have to completely cut ties with my parents.
You be you, Queen. You do that. That's what friends tell you nowadays, but it's not really good advice. How about you look at the fact that you're having a hard time connecting with people? And maybe you're having a hard time connecting with your parents, and maybe you're lacking pleasantness. I know this sounds crazy, but your parents might want to hang out with somebody that comes across as pleasant. And I don't know about you guys, but I could tell just by the way she was talking there that she probably invited them half-heartedly, and she probably ditches out on them every chance she gets. When your first inclination is, how can I cut off my family members? And then you're looking for approval from the echo chamber, there's something really awful about that.
And not in the way that I have before. I've pretty much like blocked them out of nowhere or something like that. I think I really want to do it in a way that's truly ending the chapter of our relationship.
Drama queen. She really wants everybody to just know that she's really ready to just cut the ties. But you want to know something? If she absolutely needs her parents the day after tomorrow, she'll reopen those ties to reach out. Whenever people are willing to cut off people, what you're telling the world is beware, don't be my friend. I'm going to be the type to close the door, cut the tie, and never look back. You're really putting out bad vibes. And one of these days, you're going to probably be alone, and your kids are going to end up having a good relationship with your parents because everybody loves their grandparents. Next.
Right now, it's Thanksgiving, and many people are having to make the difficult decision of whether or not to go to that family holiday meal. Not everybody wants to go. I'm one of those people that I would rather not. And in my adult life, I have not attended more family meals than I have attended. And that is the right thing for me. I am aware that that makes some people in my family sad. And I do feel for them on that. I am aware that if they're sad they don't get to see my children on those special days. But overall, it is the right thing for me and my mental health and my physical well-being. And they will need to find a way to make the holiday happy for themselves without me and my children. And you have the right to make that same decision for yourself. And for me, it's worth it. You need to determine that for yourself. But I support you in it. And I hope you have people in your life that support you, whatever decision.
So I agree with her. Sometimes you need to get away from the family and what have you. It sounds to me like she attends some outings and then she chooses to not attend others. So it sounds like she has a little bit of a relationship. I just really hate when people are willing to cut off their family, especially for something like political choice that they make. Never do that. That really says a lot more about you than your family because your family doesn't want to cut you off despite you not agreeing with their political choice.
I just had to set my first big post-election boundary and say
Bum,
that I
bum,
am not going
bum.
to Thanksgiving. And the response that I got was, I know we all want the same things. We just have a difference of opinion in how to get there. And I just stared at it because how could you have paid attention in these last few months, in these last 10 years, and think that we all want the same things? Like, my kids are going to lose federal funding for their schools. My books are going to be banned. My daughter's safety is going to be put in jeopardy. My friends, if they have a miscarriage, won't be able to get care. My trans friends and LGBTQ friends are actively fleeing the country because they're fearful of their lives. I have a friend who's telling her daughter that she can't apply to certain schools because she doesn't know if it's safe for a brown girl to live there anymore. And we all want the same things. Like, how do you even begin to have that conversation if you are starting off on completely different planets? I don't have the headspace to do it right now. It's not in the best interest of my mental health. But knowing that there are people in my real life who honestly think that we just sort of disagree on taxes or something, I can't have that conversation.
So here's the scary thing. Imagine moving to a country where if you disagreed with the citizens there, then something was wrong with you and you were going to be thrown in jail, right? When people make this decision that you have to agree with them or else, they don't seem to realize that it's them that has the problem. Look, as a conservative guy, it would be really easy for me to say, I don't want to hang out with any Democrats. But a lot of my friends through the years have been Democrats, and I like them. That's why I call them friends. You have to be willing to forgive people and be okay with other people disagreeing with you. Could you imagine a world where you had to agree with this person on everything or else? No, thank you. Oh my God, what's this crazy lady gonna say?
Hey everyone, so tomorrow I'll be sitting home alone for Thanksgiving because there's some people that voted for Trump and I just can't. I can't be around them. So I'm gonna sit home and drink to oblivion,
Right?
smoke till I'm so high,
And avoid it.
and avoid it. And I'm gonna sit on my pity pot because I just have to protect my feelings. I can't do it. I can't do it. Do you hear how ridiculous I sound? Is that you?
Not me, but these people, yes.
If you're gonna stay home because of a political stance and miss out on a Thanksgiving with family or friends or both, and they have a different political stance, is it worth it? And I say this because I do have somebody, maybe two, that voted for Kamala, and they are so much more than just their political stance.
I love that. Here's the truth. People are much more than their political stance. But for some reason, to some of you, you can't look beyond that. I think what we need to do is we need to start keeping our votes private. Let's make a plan as Americans that we're not going to let anybody know who we vote for because certain people can't handle the truth. With that being said, you know what can help you better yourself as a person so these things don't freak you out so much? Self-improvement. Go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, venters. Okay, all right, I forgive you. You ate so much turkey, you're going to be farting feathers for a month. I agree. I ate a little too much too. But here's the thing. You and I have an advantage over years past because in years past, we just ate that turkey, we drank that drink, we ate that pie, and then we repeated the process at Christmas time, and we ended up gaining 5 to 10 pounds by the New Year's, right? Now we have a walking routine, so now what we can do is simply get right back to our walk. Hopefully you've already taken a walk for today, or maybe you're joining me now. The main thing is if you go right back to walking, drinking water, and avoiding sugar, you'll lose that pound or two in no time. Remember, when you're also healthy, you're able to convert some of those calories into energy, where in the past you would eat some of those calories and then just go lay down on the couch and watch TV and get fat. Guys, I went to my daughter's house, and I think I've told you guys before that while I'm conservative, my whole family, top to bottom, for all time, has been Democrat, at least on my mom's side. I was never a part of my father's side. But every year we have Thanksgiving, and many times we have Christmas meals together, and we don't really talk about politics. And regardless of who we vote for, we would never shut the other person out because of that, okay? But here's the thing that worries me. A couple of months ago, we talked about a toxic mom, even though I didn't think she was toxic at all. I thought it was more of a toxic daughter situation. And her daughter had decided to no longer be in her life because her and her husband had voted for Trump, whereas the daughter had voted for, I believe it was Biden on that previous election, right? And now I'm watching these videos on TikTok and YouTube, and it's a bunch of people that are really upset that their family members have voted for Trump, and their Trump derangement syndrome is so high that they're no longer allowing their family members into their lives for holidays. They're no longer visiting their family for holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas and birthdays. And now they're even writing their family members and their parents and their kids out of their lives forever. When I was in high school, we would have friends that we would love hanging out with, but when it came to the weekends, they weren't allowed to hang out with us. Not because of any political bent, but because their parents were extremely religious. I think we all had friends like this. If you did, let me know down in the comments. But it went something like this. Hey, Mr. Smith, can John go ahead and hang out with us and go to a movie? Yeah, sure, John can go with you, Jesse, as long as he's back by 8 p.m. He knows the rules that as long as he's living under mine and his mother's home and under our roof, he will follow our rules, and when he's 18, he can move out and make his own decisions. And that's how it was dealing with the far Christian right. It was very irritating because you almost felt like they were persecuting you and being prejudiced against you just for being a regular Joe Schmo kid. As you get older, you start to realize where they're coming from. I had no idea how influential young people and, frankly, silly people online can be. But this is becoming like a cancerous plague where people are so upset about the orange man that they're willing to literally throw their family members away. And the problem we have nowadays is not the religious people not letting their kids hanging out with us.
The problem nowadays is that the people that are screaming from the rooftops about equality and acceptance, they don't accept anybody unless they agree with them. And so here's my plea to you. Why can't we all, regardless of party, start to be a little bit more forgiving? If you're a Christian, if you're a conservative, Jesus wants us to be forgiving. If you're a liberal, if you're a Democrat, Jesus was still about forgiving and accepting others despite the differences that they have with you. And we don't want a world where everybody's Republican, and we don't want a world where everybody's Democrat. We need to be able to enjoy the fact that we live in a country where you're allowed to disagree with the majority. And you don't want a situation where if you agree with one side, you have businesses that'll go and fire you. And if you agree with the other side, you have the mob come after you. We don't want that. You want a situation where you can be open and have dialogue with people and not fear losing them out of your lives forever. So my prayer for both parties is that we can start to be forgiving and don't ever cut off your family because of who they voted for, because frankly, it's not really anybody's business who you vote for. Can I get an amen on that? We need to be more forgiving and more accepting of people. Guys, today I watched a video by this gal here. Her name is Amala Ekpunobi. Amala has a show that I've watched about a dozen times, and every time I watch it, I always admire her because Amala seems to be really down to earth. She gives really good advice, and she does reactions to really interesting videos. Anyway, in this particular video that I watched, she did reactions to 3 people's monologues. These 3 people were upset because their family members voted for Trump. So the first person was a 31-year-old female. She said that she was standing up for herself for the first time ever by ditching her family for Thanksgiving. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're trying to make that grand, I'm going to stand up for myself for the first time ever, I just don't necessarily think Thanksgiving or Christmas or birthdays is the right time. Why don't you do it when someone's in your face and they disagree with you? Why don't you stand up for yourself then? Because you're standing up to a stranger. And why don't you forgive your family members and let them disagree with you? So anyway, she said that she was ditching her family for Thanksgiving because her quote-unquote boomer family voted for Trump. Her exact words were, "It's sad, but it feels right." Guys, there's something weird about that. Because if your friends, your family, if the choir that you are talking to, if they all echo back that it's cool that you're ditching your family because of who your family voted for you to say it's sad, I agree with that. But for you to finish that sentence with, "but it feels right," I totally couldn't disagree with you more. And here's the thing. If you're a Democrat, will you please agree with me? You know as well as I do that you don't want to live in a world where everybody is a Democrat or everybody is a Republican, because I'm telling you what, if you live in a world where everybody agrees, that's a scary world that I would not want to be a part of. And I don't think you would either. She was literally unable to set her politics aside for the sake of family. That's a weak individual. You should be able, for at least Thanksgiving, to put your political thoughts aside and be with family. And on top of that, instead of telling the world what you hate about your family, Thanksgiving is about telling your family what you're thankful for, including them. Don't forget that, because I think a lot of times we forget about that stuff. "Hey, John, hand me some more turkey." "Get it yourself, you stupid Republican. You idiot Democrat." You don't want a family get together like that, but I'd rather have you get together and argue about politics than just be indifferent to one another. That's horrible that people are like that. So anyway, like I said, she interviewed 3 people. The next person she interviewed said that her brother and his fiance uninvited her from their wedding. So she had the wonderful pleasure of uninviting them from Thanksgiving/holidays once again because her brother and his fiance voted for Donald Trump. By the way, if you think that I'm kind of picking on Democrats again, there are Republicans out there that have decided to shut off their family members too for being Democrats. So this definitely goes both ways. And regardless of who you're politically aligned to, if you're the type of person that people can't disagree with you, I wouldn't want to go to your holidays either. Here was the interesting thing, because I think this might happen even more in conservative families than Democrat families, but she was on the Democrat side. She said that her and her mom, who were both Democrats, basically paid for her brother and his fiance to live. They paid for his car payment, they paid for his school, they paid for his rent, his utilities, his cable bill, his cell phone bill. Basically, she made it said that he doesn't take care of himself in any way, shape, or form. And the day following the election, her and her mom were very sad. Her mom was actually, in tears. Meanwhile, he comes in gloating and bragging and basically, putting it in his mom's face that basically, Trump had won. Now, do I know if that's true or not? Who knows? But either way, it's one of those things where she was basically saying that she decided to quit paying her brother's auto note, and that the mom was going to quit paying for this, that, and the other. And so now the brother was calling her nonstop, and she was saying he only wants money. Well, believe me when I tell you, that argument goes both ways. There's a lot of people that they don't want you in their lives until you yank the money, but at the same time, if you're helping out your brother and the only reason you're going to continue to help him is if you can count on his vote, that seems a little weird too. I don't want to live in a world where people have to vote the same way you do, otherwise they're no longer in your life. And for you to brag about that just seems really hella crazy to me. And by the way, again, I know half of my viewers are probably Democrat. I'm not arguing Democrat or Republican. I'm simply stating we need to get out of this, hey, if someone disagrees with me politically, I don't want them in my family, and I don't want them to have a job. I want them to get fired. I want the mob to go after them. Guys, we don't live in Russia or Germany. We live in the US of A. No offense to Russians and Germans. The third and final person that Amala did a reaction to had to, quote unquote, set her post-election boundaries by ditching Thanksgiving with her family. She hates the saying, we all want the same thing, we just have a difference of opinion on how we get there. Now, I want you to think about this because I grew up where a lot of people said that saying. That is a really nice way of saying, I might be one way and you might be the opposite way. We both want to get to the same end game, but we just have different ideals on how to get there. That's actually about the nicest way that you can disagree with somebody, but because she's so against the people that her parents voted for, that's just not even acceptable anymore to her. So now whenever somebody says that, she looks at that no different than if they slapped her in the face. When I was younger in the 90s, we had disagreements between the parties, and a lot of them were on things like social things. For example, how many years should somebody get food stamps and welfare before they're cut off? Those were the things. Now we're arguing about things that are so out there and so different from what they were that the people that I used to see as Democrats back in the day, I don't see them as Democrats anymore. Those people are now moderates that I kind of see more coming to the conservative side, but you can't tell that to people without them freaking out. The truth is, the line on moderation is becoming such where people like RFK Jr. are saying that, hey, I feel like I'm closer to the Republican Party than the Democrat Party now. And if his uncle, John F. Kennedy, if old Jack Kennedy was still alive, I think that there's a good chance that he wouldn't be on the Democratic Party anymore. I'm not trying to put down the Democratic Party, but if the Democratic Party is so quick to cut off family members, yet they'll still go to work every day and work for a boss that might be conservative, does anyone else find it odd that you're willing to work with coworkers that might feel opposite of you, but you're not willing to talk to your parents or your kids because they might feel the opposite of you? It just strikes me as really, really odd And it's really sad to me that it seems like some people just can't get that through their head at how wrong that is. She also went on to say that she doesn't see how her family could be okay with voting for an administration where now her daughter is in danger, and she said her brown friends have to worry about where they live because their life is in danger, and that the Republicans are all banning books. You know, every time I see a school board meeting and I see these parents yelling at the school about the books that are in the school library, they're not trying to ban good old books. They're trying to ban books that come across as pornographic. And if you don't have any kids, or if your kids are maybe older and maybe they're okay with those things and you're okay with those things, okay, you're okay with that. But you can't respect the fact that some parents don't want those books in the school library. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but occasionally they'll have a student go up there and actually read a page or two from the book, and almost immediately the school board stops them for being inappropriate. And it comes across as really odd when it's inappropriate to read a book that the kid checked out from the school library. So again, it's one of those things where it's like it's really hard for Republicans to really understand where you're coming from, because these are things that if you found out your 3rd or 4th grade child was reading, you would probably be upset about it too. But you're equating book burning to what the Nazis did, you know, in the 1930s and 40s. So it seems really odd to me. But again, you know, even if it is somebody banning a book, if it's a book that doesn't have horrible things in it, and I would consider sexual things horrible for kids that aren't 18. You know, you don't want to ban books that are legitimate literature, but my God, who wants pornographic material in the school library? I mean, do you really have to be a Republican to be against that stuff in the library? I don't think so. And again, we're not talking about a public library. We're talking about a school library where your kid goes to school. I'm one of these guys. You know, there's cool people in the world, and you know when you meet a cool person. I'm one of these guys that I think of myself as a super cool guy, because if you come up to me, regardless of your religious belief, regardless of who you vote for, regardless of what football or basketball team you cheer for, you could be the exact opposite of me in every single way. And if I talk to you and we have good conversations, damn it, I'm still going to consider you to be a friend. And I guess that's what kind of blows me away, is that there's other people out there that they can't look beyond the surface level. And that kills me. At Big Beautiful P says, my hubby and I voted for Trump while my entire family voted for Kamala. That's my situation. We didn't talk about politics when we got together, and it's easy to do. I would never let my political views stop me from being with the people I love the most, and luckily, they feel the same. So when these people go on TikTok or they go on YouTube and talk about their toxic parent or their toxic family member, and they use words like narcissistic and this, that, and the other, man, I don't know about you, but I've gotten to the point where I just look at those people and I just say, hey, they're the true narcissist. They're the true unreasonable person, because they're literally telling the world that they're not being reasonable. My goal is for all people, regardless of your political party, let's get rid of giving these people the microphone and the audience. And again, it's not just a liberal thing. There are Republicans out there that have said, hey, if you're a Democrat, I don't want to hang out with you. You know, you don't have to necessarily be chummy with everyone in the world, but we need to start looking beyond politics. So again, I'm calling for people to come to the middle on both sides. Let's start to really make people that do this divisive stuff, let's start to make them feel like outsiders, because we need to take their choir away from them. And that doesn't mean that we don't let them talk and say what they need to, but we as a people need to say, hey, it's cool that you have your opinion, but we're going to quit shutting people out. So I'm going to disagree with your opinion. We need to bring back the love of disagreement. I think the oddest thing is I can't help but feel like the side that's constantly willing to throw the other side away is the same side that talks about things like equality and acceptance, yet you don't accept anybody that disagrees with you at all. And nobody seems to think that's creepy at all. Could you imagine if all of a sudden just every year you guys won and it was just this dystopian world where everyone was accepted, even though everyone feels divided? What a creepy world. Jerry 8417 says, cult behavior, plain and simple. These people need to get help. It goes both ways. And I have a feeling if Kamala Harris would have won, I have a feeling we could still go to TikTok and there would be some people that would say, I hate to say this, but I've just made up my mind. I'm not going to be friends with these liberals or these Democrats anymore. That's not what I'm about. I'm done with them. Now, the only thing that would keep them from saying that is maybe the fear of losing their job, which again, I can't believe businesses go and they fire people because people have a disagreement. It's really Gestapo-like. Melissa 3050 says, there used to be a time when who you voted for was nobody's business. I'm starting to think that maybe we need to actually make that a law. You should be able to vote privately, and maybe we should make it where, no one's allowed to talk about it. I know that sounds silly and impossible, but my God, if talking about it means you're going to be in jeopardy of losing your job, in jeopardy of losing your family, then it's just not worth it. Why don't we all make a silent agreement that moving forward, we're not going to tell people who we vote for anymore? Let's make it private once again, Melissa. At Crimson Spark says, I almost died this year. If it wasn't for my sister getting me to the hospital in time, I wouldn't be here. I don't give a crap who my family voted for. I'm just happy to be here and happy to spend some time with them. Crimson Spark, you bring up a really good point. I have a feeling if you and I were, and all of us here, I have a feeling if we were on our deathbed now and we were surrounded by our family, I don't think Joe Biden or President Trump or liberal or conservative or Republican or Democrat, I don't think any of those words would even pop up in our conversations. And at the end of the day, I love the people not only of this country but of this world, and it is impossible to love anybody if you're only willing to love people that think like you. Especially when my call to action is for you to look at the person in the mirror and change for the better. We all have a lot of really bad problems in this country. We all judge people. We all try to do stupid things. We're all a little greedy. We're all a little narcissistic. And yet we all like to point fingers at other people. We need to start working on the man and woman in the mirror. We need to start realizing that your phone and your Facebook friends are not what life is all about. It's about the people that are in your lives. You need to be a better wife. You need to be a better husband. You need to be a better father. You need to be a better mom. You need to be a better student. You need to be a better son and daughter. And we need to start doing things the right way. And the only way it's going to happen is if we as a people decide that, hey, we're going to make doing the right things popular again. And if doing the right things are something that's just not on your radar, then maybe you need to leave the country. Because the country is about acceptance and understanding that people are different. You got to remember, this country was started on people leaving, England so that they could have religious freedoms, freedom from persecution. And I can't help but think that we're actually heading in the wrong direction. Let's get this boat going in the right direction again. Call your family members, tell them you love them, and keep walking. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving.